What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, we did have that Sony State of Play that ran for a bit more than 70 minutes, and reactions are blowing up all over the internet as people are indeed wondering, why was this in theaters? But we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about that new Maverick Games racing title that was fully revealed called Clutch, and how it seems to deviate a bit more than most were expecting when it comes to something like a Forza Horizon. And we also had a really cool collection and then a full remaster that was announced going back to the old days of Toy Story on the PlayStation 3, but we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. So just know, even if you don't get a notification, there's probably a video here to check out. And we're going to start today with Phantom Blade Zero, which was aiming to come out in like that first week or so of September. But as we were going through that state of play, it was there. And then after the state of play, we got word that the game was actually being delayed. Now, this we can see over on their social media account, saying, at the same time, I want to share another update. Phantom Blade Zero will now launch on October 29th, 2026, moved from its previous date of September 9th, 2026, so about 50 days or so, almost 2 months. And they do explain some of the reasoning around this as they're working to, say, upgrade a number of character models, reworked many environments across the game. And while that's great, I don't know if, like, 50 days is going to necessarily be enough. They even kind of discuss that a bit, like that won't solve everything, but it gives us enough time to complete a number of clearly defined and genuinely important improvements. You might be wondering, well, why don't they push that a little further? Well, then they do start to work into November and like get up right against GTA 6, and as we're going to see in the state of play, it's pretty clear many third parties are kind of trying to stay away from that massive release that'll be happening right around that third week of November. But there you go, Phantom Blade Zero delayed almost 2 months. Also, we had an interesting title pop up on Steam, just kind of randomly as a playtest. You can see it here. Yeah, it's Super Laylee Kart. It's a playtest that apparently the last recorded update was June 2nd, 2026, so, yesterday, and I'm looking at the artwork, and Super Laylee Kart. Look, we know Yooka, obviously trying to be like that 3D platformer from way back in the day, that N64 time period, sort of. So, yeah, I guess the next evolution would be a kart racer. Why not? And I mean, kart racers are fun if done right, the kind of that arcadey like nature to them. I don't know if are there like really like memorable characters from Yooka where you would fill out an entire kart racer. I'm not sure, but maybe they can do guest characters or something, or maybe they just genuinely have an idea for a really fun little kart racing game. But it seems like they're at least testing it, and again, the way the artwork and everything looks, maybe set to make the full announcement here soon. Oh, and we have some good news when it comes to Mina the Hollower, as there was a lot of concern leading up to its release that this is kind of make or break for Yacht Club Games, and they were even floating the idea of being disappointed if it didn't sell 1 million copies. Well, like we can see now, this over on Bloomberg from Jason Schreier saying that the game has sold 300,000 copies in its first 3 days on the market, and like it was topping the Switch 2 sales on the eShop, and so this I think checks out. And at 300,000 copies, they say that's enough, so you won't be seeing them making cuts or having to pare back on some other projects. They seem like they're in good shape here, and just based on this sales velocity, 300,000 copies in 3 days, I mean, this is easily going to sell 1 million copies, I think, pretty quickly here, so that's good news. Again, Mina the Hollower, cool game. I'm still playing through it. It's kind of one of those titles where I'll play like 30 minutes here, an hour there, and most likely as I go through, say, the month of June into July, I'll probably wrap it up then. But at least for now, it's a very enjoyable isometric, people say, like the Zelda mixed with the Souls format. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with that Sony State of Play. It did indeed run actually a bit more than 70 minutes, and there were a number of games there. However, there were many titles that we already knew about, we just sort of needed release dates, and still, there were some big reveals, we'll say, coming out of Sony from a first-party perspective, but we'll talk about some of the reactions as this thing wrapped up. But we'll go line by line here, starting at the top with Wolverine. And this, I think, is a good way to kick things off. I mean, because just the action, it immediately, like, punches you in the face with what they were doing here with, I mean, Wolverine jumping all over the place. He's like taking people out, slicing them up. There's blood everywhere. But they at least showed us a nice snippet here of the game just being played, and I assume a mission will go through when the game comes out. They also mentioned other mutants, including Jean Grey, who was shown in the game here, and I figure we're gonna see many other X-Men characters, and I think this is gonna be a bridge for Insomniac to then work into making their own X-Men game. So that should be pretty cool. It's coming out September 15th. I was a little surprised. I didn't see anything, at least at the time of this recording, of a collector's edition. That seems like it should be a slam dunk to have, I don't know, just like a little statue for Wolverine or something. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they have something else to reveal, but the pre-orders are in. So there we go. September 15th on that one. Looks awesome. I'll pick that up day one. They show Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls with some new characters, Magneto, Green Goblin, and Carnage. Oh, they also have the New York Street stage, and I think Carnage looked really cool. Obviously fits in nicely for the art style of this game. So that's pretty awesome. Saw them all join up there with the Doctor Doom and just start taking people out in the trailer. Rayman Legends Retold is indeed a thing, as it's been leaked over and over and over again. Coming out October 1st. Thought it looked pretty good for the most part, so I'll be checking that one out. Bancho the Chef, this seems to be a prequel to Dave the Diver. I never got into Dave the Diver, so I don't know, but it is currently in development, no release date or anything that they're ready to announce. We have Kamuri. This is a yokai hunting action game, 3-player co-op. It is coming out in 2027. Speaking of 2027, Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which is like the full-on remake of the first Tomb Raider, that is being pushed into 2027, February 12th. So, unfortunate. I was kind of thinking that was going to make its way out here before the end of the year. But again, I think a lot of companies, a lot of these publishers are trying to avoid November. And then what's that leave you with? Not many want to launch in December. So, all right, we'll have to wait till the first quarter of 2027 for that one. Then we have The Lost Wild. Had some dinosaurs, look kind of like survival, I guess, sort of there, coming out 2027. Phantom Blade Zero, as previously mentioned, that is being pushed almost 2 months into October. They did announce that a gameplay trailer would be coming late summer 2026. Okay, it's so weird. The announcement of an announcement, basically. So I guess in a few months, we'll see gameplay for this as they lead towards that late October release. Dune Awakening, that's their open world action RPG. There will be a single player mode here for the PS5 release. That'll be happening September 22nd. Dynasty Warriors 3, it's a remaster for it, October 1st. No Rest for the Wicked is a full 1.0 release. There is both crossplay and cross-save. That's coming out October 2026. Onimusha Way of the Sword. I was very excited to see this one here. September 25th. That date was indeed correct. Remember, we went over that as that was kind of a leak date that was thrown out there. And there's a demo. You can download it right now. In fact, I'm downloading it currently, so I'll be playing that hopefully in a couple of hours here when I get a chance. Silent Hill Townfall, that first-person survival horror game, Condemned vibes, as I've said. September 24th, that's right. It's coming out a day before Onimusha, and then, when you know it, Ace Combat 8 is coming out October 2nd, so the following week. Also, they say that Ace Combat 0 will be coming with Ace Combat 8 as like a pre-order or just initial purchase if you buy it like right around the time of launch for digital or physical. So you can kind of see we're getting just a run of titles here. End of September, beginning of October, and I do think that's going to be a very, very busy time. Probably 4 weeks, right, to close out September and to start up October. Just expect a lot of stuff happening in that time, all right? Stuntman Hollywood. Kind of random, kind of out of left field on this one. I did not go into this thinking Stuntman, but it was kind of cool. I mean, there was Knight Rider in there, there's the DeLorean from Back to the Future. They just say coming soon. It's been a long time since I played a Stuntman game. I think on I feel like I made 360, PS3 era. It's been a while. Ill, which is the like body horror first-person shooter kind of game, is very odd. They had some crazy looking violence in there, but then they had to blur out some nudity. I don't know. For some reason, that was just comical to me. just the way these trailers work, but it's coming out in 2027. Control Resonance got its release date. Guess what? September 24th. There you go. So again, piling up some releases in there. Marathon was here. Okay, they're trying. Nightfall, which is season 2, that's on now, along with an open trial period, and apparently the game's also discounted. They're trying everything with this. We'll see how it goes. RuneScape Dragon Wilds. Kind of forgot RuneScape was a thing, but hey, fall 2026, and it's going to PlayStation Plus day 1, so if nothing else, hit the download button and can try it out for half an hour before maybe you just uninstall it. I don't know, but there you go. RuneScape Dragon Wilds. We have an update for the Classics catalog. Okay, here we go. June, Guitaru Man. I liked it. That's a good one. That's kind of a random, weird release to drop in there. Cool. July, Psyops The Mindgate Conspiracy. Another good one. That was one I definitely remember from back in the day, and I've actually played it recently when I was doing emulation videos, like on the original Xbox. It was a game where they mixed in the kind of basically force powers, to be honest, but the ability to move stuff around, some psychic powers, and then also third-person shooting. So really cool. And then August, Onimusha Dawn of Dreams. That's 3 for 3. Those are some good releases for the Classics catalog. Now, I do still think you need more than one game per month, so maybe these are the highlights and you see a random PSP or PS1 game get thrown in there, but I think these are some pretty strong headliners, we can say, for the Classic catalog over the summer. Okay, then we close out with 2 big Sony first-party games. The first one here is Fire Sprite with Until Dawn 2. So Until Dawn is interesting. I mean, they did the remake in newer Unreal Engine, and that was kind of busted a bit, but that, and then the movie, pretty clear that Sony does have a focus here on Until Dawn with now the sequel, and it shows the friends going away to a vacation island spot, and it seems like, according to what they were saying here, this group of friends goes around and they try to fake kind of filming for like these weird abandoned haunted places. In this case though, it kind of goes awry when there's an actual killer there. So it kind of plays out as you expect, like a slasher film. Everyone can live or everyone can die. That is coming out 2027. And then finally, the big closeout. It is indeed Sony Santa Monica with Corey's game. That's God of War La Fey. And so this shows immediately after Faye is burned in God of War 2018 at the beginning. Then she goes off, wakes up in the afterlife of the gods. The combat is much faster, it looks like, than what we've had in the previous 2 God of War games. And Faye can jump. There's aerial combos happening. All right. Visuals, though, very, very good. Again, I think we forget that God of War Ragnarok was also a PS horror game. In this case, though, only PS5 and PS5 Pro. I think the visuals and the presentation play into that nicely. All right, so there's this sword with ribbon. Well, the ribbon apparently is Rue, and then the sword is just attached to the ribbon. But then there's this talking cube that feels incredibly out of place. I mean, it looked like it was helping Faye in battle, which is fine. I don't know. It seems odd. Again, maybe we'll see more about this in the story and it makes sense. It seems like a strange decision to have this gelatinous cube, I guess, alongside of Faye. Anyway, she can also harness magic and showed like her blowing up this entire cage that she was in. And she can knock the souls out of enemies and then attack the souls and launch it back into their body. So that looked like a really, really cool mechanic for combat. And it seems like the whole way through is going to be Faye trying to find her way home to Kratos and Atreus. No release timing, although Jason Schreier has already kind of commented on this, I've seen on social media, where he's saying it's not years away. I think this is 2027, and I mean, the best case scenario for Sony right now is that Naughty Dog is also ready to go for 2027 with Intergalactic, and you at least have 2 big releases ready to go. And then, Break it. You put Break in there, somewhere. But I think that the game itself looks good. When I hear Sony Santa Monica and Corey are working on something, I go, oh, maybe it's not God of War again. And it is. So a little disappointing in the sense that it would have been cool to see them do something brand new. But this at least feels different from, the previous 2 God of War games, 2018 and Ragnarok, where maybe it can kind of separate itself there. But the overall state of play, people have been reacting in lukewarm at best. And I will say, looking at it, a lot of games we already knew about. And we also kind of had the surprise spoiled for the idea of the God of War La Fey game. But even then, I'm still sitting here waiting for Naughty Dog to show up at all. I know Intergalactic is out there, but I'm kind of concerned that's not going to make it out for this generation. Before we start talking about the PS6, are we going to have Naughty Dog miss the entire generation because of that live service misstep that Jim Ryan and technically Herman Hulse took? Because that's what seems to have really set them back this entire way. It's like they've been trying to play catch up this entire time with the PlayStation 5. So I feel like they needed another one or two big surprises, even just tapping into nostalgia with a slam dunk remaster like a Sly Cooper, an Infamous, or just something that maybe would have gotten it to more of the good graces of different people out there. Because right now, a lot of people are going, why were you having people go out to the theater for this? Because it didn't hit the high that they needed to for that. Next up, let's talk about an awesome remaster and collection that's heading our way later this year, and that's for Toy Story. So this is a really cool surprise, and we'll talk about the big remaster first, you can see, and that's Toy Story 3 Complete Edition. Upgraded visuals, higher resolutions, improved performance. It also has the platform exclusive content from the PlayStation 3, and this specifically is known for the Toy Box mode, which is like this open world creation sandbox. And it's coming out for PS5, PS4, actually, Xbox Series, Switch, Switch 2, PC. That is October 15th. Alongside of this, Toy Story Retro Roundup. So what we're seeing here is digital clips they're developing and like Atari is publishing. MVG is actually on this, guys. So he's all in on the Toy Story stuff right now. And I'm really happy to see this because I look at like the retro, like Toy Story 3 Complete Edition is cool. But I look at the Retro Roundup and these are the ones I really remember. Okay, so like Toy Story 1, I remember renting that on the Sega Genesis way back in the day now. You also have Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, Toy Story Racer, and they're throwing a Bug's Life in as a bonus game, which is... all right, I mean, it's a bonus game. I'm not going to say no. Now, they have rewind and retry instantly, save and load anytime. You have the Rex cheat codes, enhanced visuals, and they also have extensive archival content. So they'll have a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I'm sure interviews, making of, and this is really cool. A physical edition, by the way, will release with the collection and 3 included, all in one package. Again, this all coming out October 15th. I'm there day one. That is really fun, and I think this is a really cool game to pick up because, like, I was already talking with the family about going to see the new Toy Story movie that's out here in a few weeks, and then when you know it, the classic Toy Story games getting thrown into the collection with 3 getting remastered, coming out later on in the fall. It lines up perfectly, and that's probably the plan they had anyway, but yeah, they got me, so I'll be there in October grabbing this physically day one. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Maverick Games as they did announce their big new racing game, that's Clutch. Now, it's important to note that the creative director here is coming off of Forza Horizon 5, that's Mike Brown, and their studio is made up of previously Forza developers, as well as Need for Speed developers, and when you start to hear about the game, it kind of makes sense because it seems like it's trying to merge those two worlds together. Okay, so we can see some of the trailer here for it, and it is an open world racing game. Of course, as you kind of expect here, longest development of any game, according to Mike Brown, that he's worked on, okay? So they have circuit racing, that's defined under the R1K tag, and then street racing, that's under the Midnight Collective. It is narrative driven, like they will have a full story mode here, along with the cinematics and different characters that'll be playing into this, and they have a serious focus on in-depth car customization. They showed a lot. I mean, down to leaving something in the passenger seat. They showed like a hoodie that someone had just kind of strewn about the seats and stuff there. Either that, also things wearing down, whether it's the seats and the leather or even the shifter knob. So they are playing into the idea of each car having that relationship to the driver, okay? And they have underglow. I mean, if that doesn't say old school Need for Speed, I don't know what does. Okay, what will, okay? Because back then, you had to have underglow, all right? Now it is a PvPvE world, so they say it's living, and I guess you'll probably have people driving around similar to Forza Horizon there. It is built using a customized Unreal Engine 5, and people were concerned about the idea of stuttering naturally here on Unreal Engine 5, and that's the case, but they've kind of responded to that on social media and say, no, we're working that out. Spring 2027 on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC. And, you know, we've been getting a run of racing games. Obviously, Forza Horizon 6 just came out, but this is one that I'm kind of interested in because it seems like it has the spirit of like a Need for Speed, but mashed into the world of a Forza Horizon. that in like an open world, and that sounds kind of cool. I'm interested in the customization aspect because they showed a lot of that, but also down to the idea of the performance tuning for the different cars and then the narrative side to it. That is the one thing that I will say Forza Horizon, while it's polished really, really well all the way around, kind of lacks the idea of a more narrative focused part of it. So this could be really cool, and I'm gonna be looking forward to that. That's Clutch, coming out 2027 in the spring. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, give the Sony State of Play a letter grade. All right, B is leading the way here at 43%, C is 31%. Oh, we have A and D are tied at 13%. I'm like, man, I'm like right between C and B. I'm in like C plus B territory. I feel like if I had to really vote, I'd probably go with B, only because I am a fan of like the God of War franchise, the more recent ones I really enjoyed. And when I heard that Faye was going to be like the main protagonist of the next one, of course we have like the full remake of the older God of War trilogy, but like this new one, I was thinking it was going to be a prequel, because obviously she died in God of War 2018. That was the whole point of the game. So when I see that that's not the case, I will admit I was kind of interested more so there, because now it's like, how does this tie into what we've seen so far with God of War Ragnarok even? And the only thing I can think of is the whole point of this God of War Laufey game is that Faye will eventually like come to the realization that she's not going back, and she has to kind of come to terms with that grief of, no, she's just kind of dead. That's sort of it. But who knows? I guess they can technically retcon her dying from 2018 with this, and she just comes back after Ragnarok and they live happily ever after. But I guess that is also part of the fun of seeing what happens. My point is, it was a pretty strong closeout for me, but I definitely know a lot of people who are not the biggest fans of God of War, and it probably did nothing for them. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Restless, who says, I feel like double-clicking an icon to launch the program I want is still way faster than asking an AI to do it. So in that case, yes, if you go double-click and open this program, that is correct. You would be able to do it faster. The idea of the whole AI push with kind of the agentic side, or having an AI agent, is that they would work similar to a person or similar for a company to an employee, and you tell them to go do a roundabout task, and it's able to do all the little steps working up to that. Like legitimately go insert, like put all this data into this spreadsheet and then crunch numbers and find like the best properties or whatever else that I'm trying to make bids on. And it will come up with that, drop a bunch of reports on your desk all at once, like in no time flat. That's sort of the idea of AI. The problem is AI doesn't necessarily work the greatest for that yet. Now, there are some data-driven tasks that it's very good at, but when it starts getting down to more judgment calls and other aspects to it, especially on the customer service side, it has some work to do. But it is improving rapidly, and now we have AI improving AI, so here comes Skynet, I guess. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear more about my just initial reaction to what we saw there with the State of Play. I did a whole video on that after it concluded, and I'll leave that right below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.